Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Can y'all help me with the sound? How does this sound? I've got two microphone choices, and I'm not sure which one is coming in. So this is one of them, and now I'm going to choose another one. Is this any better or worse right now? Hi Laura, Carolyn, welcome Paul, Jessica. Is there any difference? Yes or no? Okay, which one was better, Carolyn? The second one now? Okay, I'll leave it as it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have spoken today, but not much. It is morning here in Bali. Nice to see you all again, those who are joining in, who were here very recently. Hi J.E., nice to see you. I've got butterflies outside of my window. Always nice to see. So today we are going to start a new chapter in our book study, Conversations with God, Book 1. We are going to be starting chapter 9 if you're following along in the book itself. Let me find it. Hi, Jessie. So it's page 148, and we'll give a few minutes for people to join in. I am double live streaming in YouTube right now, so you may be joining me from there. Or from Insight Timer. Either way, welcome. Glad to have all of you. So if you do have to leave or something, this will automatically be saved as a live replay in YouTube. I get it, Jessie. Butterflies in the stomach can be, I mean, it's a neutral event, so whatever, if somebody has butterflies because they're about to get married or maybe jump out of an airplane or give a presentation or go into surgery, butterflies in the stomach can be a positive thing depending on the situation. And of course, everything is our interpretation, our story onto the situation. So I'm glad you brought that in. Welcome, Britt. Nice to see you as always. So if anybody is new here, please say hello. I'm Natalie Speakman, spiritual life coach, Reiki master teacher, and intuitive here in Bali. So I am looking at creating events here where I live in Bali, and I had one place request a CV from me. So it's very interesting because I've never made like a spiritual resume before or a spiritual CV. So that was a fun experience. I was working on it yesterday and like right before this live stream, so that's why it's top of mind. But it's interesting to reflect back from like the spiritual view, like, what is my training? What are my certifications? What are my qualifications? What is my work experience? So yeah, interesting to reflect on that. Hi Karen, welcome. Hi Nancy. So, yeah, if anyone is new, say hello. Oh, I meant to, whatever. Anyway, never mind. um, Also, if anybody is new to this book, please um, say so I can give a bit of a context um, to the book before we dive into the reading. And I'm going to be reading directly from the book. And then the way this book study works is your invitation is to be present with this material, to not be scrolling, to not be distracted in your listening or your attention, but to bring a full presence and focus to receiving this information, because it's really powerful and impactful and deep. And just like Michael Singer, as we listened to very recently, and I'm so glad to see many of you back here again. These spiritual topics call forth from you presence and intention to listen and to take it in. So that's your invitation. So great to see so many of you that are new to this material. Hi, Karen, John Steen, Jamie, new to the book, Carolyn, also Laura. Amazing. I know I asked this about Michael Singer yesterday. Yesterday for me might be the same day for some of you, and had many of you who were new to Michael Singer as well. So it's my passion. It's why I bring this here in the live streams. So it's nice to, it excites me to share this with you and to introduce you to the material. And of course, if you're not new to it, I'm still, of course, loving bringing it to you. Hi, Mel. So if you are new, don't forget to follow me here on Insight Timer. Give a donation through the app if you'd like. And as I said, this is double live streaming in YouTube, so follow me there. Facebook, Instagram, check my website if you want to reach out about having a one-on-one session with me. I do card readings, Reiki and Ancestral Clearing sessions one-on-one, as well as spiritual life coaching. And I'm offering to those who are new to me or just haven't ever connected with me one-on-one, my Powerful Truth Excavation Guided Journey. So that's a one-on-one session where we go deeply into your interior, your soul, your deeper self, your higher self, your inner self, whatever words work for you. To see what truths your soul is ready to reveal to you. So that can be really powerful if you feel stuck, if you feel indecisive, if you just want guidance. It's your own guidance that's ready to be revealed. This can also be helpful to break free from denial, self-denial, if that's showing up. And, the thing is, you might not know you're in denial, so... I've been in alcohol and drug addiction recovery for 25 years, actually longer, but I've been clean and sober since then. And it's like in the past few weeks, I was in session with my own life coach, because every good coach has a coach of their own. And me being in session, I had denial that I broke through. And, I have this idea of who I imagine myself to be as a person in long-term recovery, as a spiritual, teacher, as a life coach. I'm not in any denial, It's like, no, I still was. and that surprised me and whatever. So we all have layers, of awareness and self-honesty. So the truth excavation can help with that. So thank you, Carolyn. So send me a private message You can check out my profile here in Insight Timer. I have a link to everywhere you can find me. My name is quite unique, so you can just search my name on the internet and I'll pop right up. Yeah, and I've got some fun and powerful new premium tracks in Insight Timer. Please give those a listen. My newest one is Take Your Power Back from Them, Shamanic Healing. If you've found yourself in a dynamic where you feel powerless, feel you're in a toxic connection, you can't break free, this is a powerful guided journey to help you do that. I also have my Blakey Reiki Bliss Sleep Talk Down Meditation. It's really powerful. And if you want help or a guidance in falling asleep, I also have Total Surrender, Release from Care, Boredom and Worry. Or that's not actually the title is similar but a little bit different. And then I have my Comprehensive Abundance Prayer. So that's a powerful ancestral clearing prayer for abundance. And then I have many free tracks as well. You can also join my circle here, my group, Natalie's Healing Circle, to stay in contact. So, also this book, Conversations with God, I do have a link I can share with you to the audio version of this, which we have listened to before, and now we've transitioned at this point to me reading. We may go back to listening to the audio, and also the feedback I got from most of you is you preferred me reading. But if you want the audiobook version, send me a message. So, many of you are new to this book, so I'll just briefly give a context in which it is to help you in your understanding. So it's a conversation with God. So the author of the book, in his late 40s, his name's Neale Donald Walsch. He kind of hit a bottom in his life. Nothing was working. He was in despair. So he just, one night got out a pen and paper and started writing a letter to God, kind of like a fuck you letter or like a where are you, like sort of a letter. And he was just like writing this letter, and then God answered, like he wrote all this out, and I wonder if I can easily get to it. It was the spring of 1992 when he I'll actually read this. Britt says Britt can relate, so this is perfect because this is hope, He says, I was very unhappy during that period. Personally, professionally, and emotionally, my life was feeling like a failure on all levels. I'd been in the habit for years of writing my thoughts down in letters, and I picked up my legal pad and began pouring out my feelings. Usually the letters were to other people, but this time I decided to write a letter to God. It was a spiteful, passionate letter full of confusions, contortions, and condemnations, and a pile of angry questions. Why wasn't my life working? What would it take to get it to work? Why could I not find happiness in relationships? Was the experience of adequate money going to elude me forever? Finally, and most emphatically, what had I done to deserve a life of such continuing struggle? To my surprise, as I scribbled out the last of my bitter, unanswerable questions and prepared to toss my pen aside, my hand remained poised over the paper as if held there by some invisible force. Abruptly, the pen began moving on its own. I had no idea what I was about to write, but an idea seemed to be coming, so I decided to flow with it. Out came, do you really want an answer to all these questions, or are you just venting? So this was God. He was writing a letter to God, so this was God answering his letter. So thus started this conversation. So it doesn't matter if you are joining in whenever, if you don't know what this is, just the message will be for you right now. But that's how it all started. So basically, it's a back and forth convo with God. So sometimes the author will be speaking, sometimes God, and God meaning not a religious God, not a certain idea of God. God, whatever that means for you or doesn't mean for you. So have an open mind. You might hear religious terms and things, whatever, just, it's not, this isn't coming from dogma. This book actually challenges religion very, very strongly. So if you are religious, this might challenge you in other ways. So, and this is, I'm not here to sell you on any ideas. I believe this. For me, it's truth. I'm sharing it. You know, it's sold millions all over the world. So for many, they've had that experience as well. So just be with the information. Don't automatically shut down to it, would be my invitation. If something challenges you or triggers you, then that's the place to be like, ooh, isn't that interesting that I'm having a response or a reaction to that? Can I pause? Can I let this information in? Can I have an open mind? So great, Britt. So we're jumping in. We're at chapter 9. So God is starting out this chapter by saying, you may think this is easy, this be who you really are business, but it's the most challenging thing you'll ever do in your life. In fact, you may never get there. Few people do, not in one lifetime, not in many. So this is continuing this idea about basically God is saying in this book that our purpose here is to be who you really are, to choose and create who you are. We're not in an earth school to learn something. We already know it. It's just about demonstrating what we already know. So also as a side note, all of my replays for this book study are in my YouTube channel in a playlist. So if you do want to go back and listen to other, start from the beginning or whatever, like those are all available. And if you want guidance in that, send me a message. So this is Conversations with God, Book 1. So now the author continues. So why try? Why enter the fray? Who needs it? Why not simply play life as if it were what it apparently is anyway, a simple exercise in meaninglessness leading to nowhere in particular, a game you can't lose no matter how you play, a process that leads to the same result ultimately for everyone. You say there's no hell, there's no punishment, there's no way to lose, so why bother trying to win? What is the incentive, given how difficult it is to get where you say we're trying to go? Why not take our good-natured time and just relax about all this God stuff and being who you really are? My, we are frustrated, aren't we? Well, I get tired of trying, only to have you come here and tell me how hard it's all going to be and how only 1 in a million makes it anyway. Yes, I see that you do. Let me see if I can help. First, I would like to point out that you already have taken your good-natured time about it. Do you think this is your first attempt at this? I have no idea. It doesn't seem as if you've been here before. Sometimes. Well, you have. Many times. How many times? Many times. That's supposed to encourage me? It's supposed to inspire you. How so? So now it's God again. First, it takes the worry out of it. It brings in the can't fail element you just talked about. It assures you that the intention is for you not to fail, that you'll get as many chances as you want and need. You can come back again and again and again. If you do get to the next step, if you evolve to the next level, it's because you want to, not because you have to. It's because you want to evolve, not because you have to. That's such a powerful distinction. Let that sink in for a minute, this spiritual journey that we're on. We don't have to do anything. So you can do this if you want to. And God continues, you don't have to do anything. If you enjoy life at this level, if you feel this is the ultimate for you, you can have this experience over and over and over again. In fact, you have had it over and over again for exactly that reason. You love the drama. You love the pain. You love the not knowing, the mystery, the suspense. You love it all. That's why you're here. Neale, the author, says, "Are you kidding me?" Can anyone relate? Would I kid about a thing like that? I don't know. I don't know what God kids about. Not about this. This is too close to the truth. Too close to ultimate knowing. I never kid about how it is. Too many people have played with your mind about that. I'm not here to get you more mixed up. I'm here to help you get things clarified. So clarify. You're telling me I'm here because I want to be. Of course. Yes. I chose to be. Yes. And I've made that choice many times. Many. How many? Here we go again. You want an exact count? Just give me a ballpark estimate. I mean, are we talking about handfuls here or dozens? Hundreds. Hundreds? I've lived hundreds of lives? Yes. And this is as far as I've gotten? This is quite some distance, actually. Oh, it is it? Absolutely. Why, in past lives, you've actually killed people. What's wrong with that? You said yourself that sometimes war is necessary to end evil. God says, we're going to have to elaborate on that because I can see that statement being used and misused, just as you're doing now, to try to make all sorts of points or rationalize all sorts of insanity. By the highest standards I have observed humans devise, killing can never be justified as a means of expressing anger, releasing hostility, righting a wrong, or punishing an offender. The statement that war is sometimes necessary to end evil stands true, for you've made it so. You've determined in the creation of self that respect for all human life is and must be a high prime value. I'm pleased with your decision because I did not create life that it may be destroyed. It is a respect for life which sometimes makes war necessary. For it is through war against immediate impending evil, it is through defense against immediate threat to another life, that you make a statement of who you are in relationship to that. You have a right under highest moral law, indeed you have an obligation under that law, to stop aggression on the person of another or yourself. This does not mean that killing as a punishment is appropriate, nor as retribution, nor as a means of settling petty differences. In your past, you've killed in personal duels over the affection of a woman, for heaven's sake, and called this protecting your honor, when it was all honor you were losing. It is absurd to use deadly force as an argument solver. Many humans are still using force, killing force, to solve ridiculous arguments even today. Reaching to the height of hypocrisy, some humans even kill in the name of God, and that is the highest blasphemy, for it does not speak of who you are. Oh, then there is something wrong with killing. Let's back up. There's nothing wrong with anything. Wrong is a relative term, indicating the opposite of that which you call right. Yet what is right? Can you be truly objective in these matters? Or are right and wrong simply descriptions overlaid on events and circumstances by you out of your decision about them? So we'll pause there, breathe. Are you following? Because this started out with Neale, the author's frustration at like, when am I ever gonna like get enlightened, get to God, get beyond all this, human suffering. And then God saying like, you actually enjoy this, you love the drama, that's why you keep coming back. Hundreds and hundreds of lives you've lived because you enjoy this. You don't need to do anything. You don't have to do anything. You want to, you enjoy it. And then God's like, you've even killed people in past lives. So that's how that part of the discussion started. And then now it's like backing up a layer and talking about value judgments of right and wrong. Because in this book, it challenges that God, judges. This book says God judges nothing. So this is a really profound and powerful point that can shift if you're open to it and if you feel it resonates with you, like beliefs that you've been conditioned with, or choose to, keep believing that there's a judgmental God. So this book is saying God does not judge. It's against God's nature. It chooses not to. It can't. So that means there's no judgment on killing people, on war. But he's getting into some layers about that I just read. And then it's talking about, beyond that, this idea about right and wrong being flawed because that's a judgment. Exactly, this. So if God doesn't judge, then there's nothing to forgive. So these are big, challenging ideas, especially when you think about the classic example of Hitler. And it talks about Hitler in here. It also, in book 2, because this is a series. There's actually like 3 in the beginning series, and there's a 4th, and then there's more. But I've listened to all of them. I'm listening to book 2 again, and it really goes deeply into this like Hitler example. So this is what I'm saying, like this book can challenge ideas. So that's where we're landing here right now. That's why I'm saying like this material is really dense, deep, requires focus, paying attention to really let it sink in, to consider. So God is speaking. Let's back up. There's nothing wrong with anything. Wrong is a relative term indicating the opposite of that which you call right. Yet what is right? Can you be truly objective in these matters? Or are right and wrong simply descriptions overlaid on events and circumstances by you out of your decision about them? And what, pray tell, forms the basis of your decision? Your own experience? No. In most cases, you've chosen to accept someone else's decision, someone who came before you and presumably knows better. Very few of your daily decisions about what is right and wrong are being made by you based on your understanding. This is especially true on important matters. In fact, the more important the matter, the less likely are you to listen to your own experience, and the more ready you seem to be to make someone else's ideas your own. This explains why you've given up virtually total control over certain areas of your life and certain questions that arise within the human experience. These areas and questions very often include the subjects most vital to your soul: the nature of God, the nature of true morality, the question of ultimate reality, the issues of life and death surrounding war, medicine, abortion, euthanasia, the whole sum and substance of personal values, structures, judgments. These most of you have abrogated, assigned to others. You don't want to make your own decisions about them. Someone else decide. I'll go along, you shout. Someone else just tell me what's right and wrong. This is why, by the way, human religions are so popular. It almost doesn't matter what the belief system is, as long as it's firm, consistent, clear in its expectation of the follower, and rigid. Given those characteristics, you can find people who believe in almost anything. The strangest behavior and belief has been, attributed to God. It's God's way, they say, God's word. And there are those who will accept that gladly, because you see, it eliminates the need to think. Now let's think about killing. Can there ever be a justifiable reason for killing anything? Think about it. You'll find you need no outside authority to give you direction, no higher source to supply you with answers. If you think about it, if you look to see what you feel about it, the answers will be obvious to you and you will act accordingly. This is called acting on your own authority. It is when you act on the authority of others that you get yourself in trouble. Should states and nations use killing to achieve their political objectives? Should religions use killing to enforce their theological imperatives? Should societies use killing as a response to those who violate behavioral codes? Is killing an appropriate political remedy, spiritual convincer, or societal problem solver? Now, is killing something you can do if someone's trying to kill you? Would you use killing force to defend the life of a loved one, someone you didn't even know? Is killing a proper form of defense against those who would kill if they're not some other way stopped? So that's why I always give the disclaimer in the beginning. This can really challenge your thinking, which is good. Because what it just said is that these beliefs have come from others. Is there a difference between killing and murder? The state would have you believe killing to complete a purely political agenda is perfectly defensible. In fact, the state needs you to take its word on this in order to exist as an entity of power. Religions would have you believe that killing to spread and maintain knowledge of and adherence to their particular truth is perfectly defensible. In fact, religions require you to take their word on this in order to exist as an entity of power. Society would have you believe that killing to punish those who commit certain offenses, these have changed through the years, is perfectly defensible. In fact, society must have you take its word for it in order to exist as an entity of power. Are you seeing a theme here? Do you believe these positions are correct? Have you taken another's word for it? What does yourself have to say? There's no right or wrong in these answers. But by your decisions, you paint a portrait of who you are. Indeed, by their decisions, your states and nations have already painted such pictures. By their decisions, your religions have created lasting, indelible impressions. By their decisions, your societies have produced their self-portraits too. Are you pleased with these pictures? Are these the impressions you wish to make? Do these portraits represent who you are? Be careful of these questions. They may require you to think. Thinking is hard. Making value judgments is difficult. It places you at pure creation because there are so many times you'll have to say, I don't know, I just don't know. Yet still you'll have to decide, and so you'll have to choose. you'll have to make an arbitrary choice. Such a choice, a decision coming from no previous personal knowledge, is called pure creation. And the individual is aware, deeply aware, that in making of such decisions is the self created. And this is just so brilliant and clear and powerful. So it's challenging, like the very foundations of our belief structures and our culture and society and humanity. So it's saying if you throw all of that out the window and then you come back to your own self and you make your own choices and decisions, then you are, and you say, I don't know, then this decision coming from no previous personal knowledge is pure creation. Which is pure power, not influenced by anything or anyone outside of the self. How many of you have made decisions about your life because you're scared about what other people might think, or even society or culture or religion or government or whatever? I know that I've been faced with those decisions. And the biggest one that comes to mind for me is, and I've shared this before, that there's two. One is me leaving my marriage and leaving my life and leaving everything. It wasn't just me leaving my marriage, it was me leaving my country and leaving my life as I knew it to start a new life in another country. So I cared about mainly what my mother thought. Really, that was the only thing that I cared about. I was so worried, like as much as what my husband would think, of course, but my husband and my mother are both, like, I cared about what they thought. Of course, the husband, but the mother, like, that was my choice, to give my power away to caring about what she thinks. But I chose anyway to leave everything. The other one is my job, my old 9-to-5 that I was at for almost 13 years. Y'all that know me know the story. And again, really, it was my mother again, so isn't that interesting? We all have our dynamics, right? So if I would have, or even society, right? Like with the marriage thing, oh, you've got to stay and make it work, blah, blah, blah. And with my job, it was during COVID. You know, my job told me I had to move back to the US, etc. It would have been the logical thing to do based on current world situations. You don't leave a stable job, you know, where you're making good money to become a life coach out of nowhere, out of nothing. And I cared about, again, what my mother would think, how disappointed she would be. But I did it anyway. So we all have to make choices based on what our soul truth is. And even the truth excavation session that I mentioned earlier, that I'm gifting to anybody who has never had a session with me, space limited space, but reach out if you want that. That's what helps you get in touch with this deeper place where your inner truth resides without all of these freaking pressures and judgments and worries and fears and what will people think, and places you purely at choice. If I want to go to think about, did I make the right decision about leaving my husband, about leaving my job? It depends on what place you want to sit. There could be arguments for all of it. But ultimately, it doesn't even matter because it's past. Nobody, I can't change the past. Nobody can change the past. I can only change my thoughts and ideas and interpretations about how I see the past. That's where my power lies. That's where our only power lies, is our perception and what we want to choose. And I do know I made the right choice. But it doesn't mean I would have made a wrong choice by staying either. Because then I would have a different path that would put me on a different trajectory. There is no off the path. Some people say, I need to get back on my path. There is no path. Because wherever you go, that's the path. So, okay. Such a choice, a decision coming from no previous personal knowledge, is called pure creation, and the individual is aware, deeply aware, that in the making of such decisions is the self created. Most of you are not interested in such important work. Most of you would rather leave that to others. And so most of you are not self-created, but creatures of habit, other created creatures. Then, when others have told you how you should feel, and it runs directly counter to how you do feel, you experience a deep inner conflict. Something deep inside you tells you that what others have told you is not who you are. Now, where to go with that? What to do? The first place you go is to your religionists, the people who put you there in the first place. You go to your priests and your rabbis and your ministers and your teachers, and they tell you to stop listening to yourself. The worst of them will try to scare you away from it, scare you away from what you intuitively know. They'll tell you about the devil, about Satan, about demons and evil spirits and hell and damnation, and every frightening thing they can think of to get you to see how what you were intuitively knowing and feeling was wrong, and how the only place you'll find any comfort is in their thought, their idea, their theology, their definitions of right and wrong, and their concept of who you are. The seduction here is that all you have to do to get instant approval is to agree. Agree, and you have instant approval. Some will even sing and shout and dance and wave their arms in hallelujah. That's hard to resist. Such approval, such rejoicing that you've seen the light, that you've been saved. Approvals and demonstrations seldom accompany inner decisions. Celebrations rarely surround choices to follow personal truth. In fact, quite the contrary. Not only may others fail to celebrate, they may actually subject you to ridicule. What? You're thinking for yourself? You're deciding on your own? You're applying your own yardsticks, your own judgments, your own values? Who do you think you are anyway? And indeed, that's precisely the question you're answering. But the work must be done very much alone, very much without reward, without approval, perhaps without any notice. So even in thinking about my own examples I just gave, of course my husband was not happy. And that, of course, that's understandable, and that's not really the best example, but It's there. But, my mother didn't approve of my decisions. And I know each of you have your own dynamics of who that person is. And I'm not trying to demonize her or whatever. It's just that's the example in my life. All the stuff we know and say. It's not about making her wrong. It's just about that example. Hi, Kiana. Nice to see you. Awesome. Nancy, I'm reading your comment. That's a great point. I love that you brought that in, because actually that brings up another example for me. So actually, and y'all that know me know my story, I left my husband for somebody else. And so this other person, after a while, I knew that this was not the relationship for me, and not the person that I wanted to be in relationship with. And yet I stayed. I stayed out of feeling of obligation, and also because of everything I gave up and left behind and sacrificed to be with this person. And so I was living very out of integrity, where deep inside I knew that this was not in alignment. But yet I stayed out of fear of hurting him. And also it was just easier. It was easier at that time until it wasn't. And there was a bit of like, oh, what are people going to think? You left for this person and then now you're broken up with them. There's like all this shit. And again, it's not wrong. It's not judging it. It's just interesting to see. And then it's an invitation. And that's what, we just finished chapter 8 on relationships in this book. And it says, never do anything out of obligation, ever, in relationship or anything. Do it out of opportunity to be and decide who you really are. So, thank you for your honesty, Nancy. I acknowledge you for that. And I mean, I was you. You're not the only one. I know we're not the only ones. So then the invitation becomes, okay, I am choosing to stay. So how can I become in alignment with my choice? Because for me, I know it was this energy of like, just this conflicting energy. I was out of integrity. My insides did not match my outsides. My outsides were, I was living with this person in a relationship. But my insides were, I don't want to be here. And then it can feel like a have to, like an obligation. I have to stay. I have to be here. But it's actually not. It is a choice. And so if you can shift into, I'm making an empowered choice right now with these circumstances as they are. I am choosing to stay. Even just shifting that, or reminding yourself when you might feel like you don't have a choice or whatever, like that can really help shift the energy. So yeah, I mean, nothing is black and white. There is no right or wrong. There's choices. So it's like, okay, I have 4 children. I love the family unity. And also, it's not really my heart's decision. And yet, it's easier at this time. And so, moving forward, I am choosing this. So in that choice, how can you get into alignment? What's the opportunity here? I would invite you and anyone that can relate, sounds like Karen also can relate, go back and listen to the past week's live streams, the past couple. We dive into the chapter on relationships, which is chapter 8 in this book. Or if you reach out, I can send it to you, the link. But it dives deeply into relationships and these exact dynamics, so that will be helpful. So I'm going to finish this bit and then we're going to wrap up. So it was talking about like other people judging you for your choices. If you do choose outside of the norm, you know, who do you think you are, basically? So then it says, and indeed, that's precisely the question you're answering. Who do you think you are? But the work must be done very much alone, very much without reward, without approval, perhaps without even any notice. And so you ask a very good question. Why go on? Why even start off on such a path? What's to be gained from embarking on such a journey? Where is the incentive? What is the reason? So it's talking about the soul's journey through the hundreds of lives, past lives that the chapter opened with. The reason is ridiculously simple. There is nothing else to do. There is nothing else to do. What do you mean? Neale, the author, asks. I mean, this is the only game in town. There's nothing else to do. In fact, there's nothing else you can do. You're going to be doing what you're doing for the rest of your life, just as you've been doing it since birth. The only question is whether you'll be doing it consciously or unconsciously. You see, you cannot disembark from the journey. You've embarked before you were born. Your birth is simply a sign that the journey has begun. So the question is not why start off on such a path. You've already started off. You did so with the first beat of your heart. The question is, do I wish to walk this path consciously or unconsciously, with awareness or lack of awareness, as the cause of my experience or at the effect of it? For most of your life, you've lived at the effect of your experiences. Now, you're invited to be the cause of them. This is what's known as conscious living. That is what's called walking in awareness. So I'm going to pause because it's just going deeper and deeper, and I want to wrap this up. Hi, Aisha. Yeah, so this is chapter 9, Conversations with God, book 1. So next time we're going to kind of backtrack a bit to ground back into what we're saying now, because it's so deep and important. It's really, this is what we're reading right now is why are we here? What are we doing? What is the purpose of existence, sort of a thing. So I don't want to rush through it. So come next week, follow me here, give a donation, follow me everywhere. This is being double live streamed on YouTube, and this replay will be on the live section there. My voice is needing a rest, so I'm going to wrap it up. And if you want to, this is so interesting about, my offer for those who have never had a session with me, that I'm gifting my truth excavation. It's really so in line with the topic for today. So, yes, hi Lisa. I've been reading from this, Conversations with God. This is a weekly series. It's been going on for months. It will continue for months. You've heard what you needed to hear if you're here right now, so trust that. And also, if you want the audiobook link, send me a message. If you want to revisit past lives, they're in my YouTube playlist. I have a playlist there. So I will see you all in like 12 hours, or no, less than 24 hours for Saturday Night Live. We're going to do cards. We're going to do Reiki and ancestral clearing and fun. Have a good day, morning, or evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.